Now it says here that I have 6 available tools I can pair. What I'm going to do is pair 2 tools. The 2 tools that I have are what I call legacy ETS tools, meaning that there are older style of tools. The QX Connect tools have a slightly different way of pairing on the tool side, where there's a menu that you can go through to initiate the pairing. On the older style tools, you hold down the left button and the check mark and the left arrow. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell the controller to enter pairing mode. So pair says we're at 0 of 6. I'm going to try and pair the first tool, and you should see 1 of 6. Now I'm going to put the second tool in the pairing mode, and we now see 2 of 6. So now that it's paired, I don't have any other tools to pair, so I can just hit close. What you're going to see now is that we have 3 icons. The tool is named by the serial number of the tool. We have this Find Me icon. Both of my tools look exactly alike. I have no idea which is which, right? So I can hit the Find Me, and I know it's this one because it beeped and the lights flashed. Did you see the lights flash? Okay. And then if I do this one, yep, right? So I can tell which is which now. The gear icon here is red, indicating that software mismatch that we talked about before. Normally, this would be green because it's or gray, I forget, gray, indicating that there's no mismatch. But if you click on these settings, there's some interesting things here. One thing I highly recommend is giving your tool a name based off of the application you're going to use it on. For this scenario, we're going to consider this is an automotive assembly line. The tool's in the station, and we're going to call one driver side, and we'll name the other passenger side. This enable IP aliasing, completely ignore. That was something that had been considered a novel feature when this controller was first launched, but it required multiple IP addresses to be assigned to the controller. IP addresses are in limited supply in most plants, and so we had to develop an alternative approach for some of the protocols. So I haven't found any customers right now that are using this IP aliasing. So for right now, we're going to ignore it. If the customer is going to be using some sort of automation, then you need to change the job selection. By default, it's on internal controller. So from the home screen, we can select what job it's going to run from a drop-down. However, you can select from the tool itself. You can select from a protocol like Open Protocol, Ford, things like that. You can from a barcode. So if a barcode has 10 characters, but you know the second and third characters indicate what job to run, you can map that out. And anytime they scan a barcode, it selects the appropriate job. If you are using a DIO box, you have a choice from external discrete, meaning if the input is job 1, it selects job 1. Or you have external binary, where if you have 8 possible job inputs that can be used to define a binary number that allows you to select up to 256. We have an article on the Help Center that describes the setup for binary and what that means, and the PLC setups to take or make use of that. If you're not going to use more than 8 jobs, then discrete is usually fine.
So binary is pretty much exclusively used with the PLC?
Yes, and you have the same options for field bus, discrete and binary, as you do with the DIO box.
Okay. And just to make sure I'm clear, Chris, selecting from the tool is internal display?
Yes. And then there's certain settings like boot job. If that's enabled, then it remembers where you were in the job if the controller loses power and comes back on, and it resumes where it left off. If, however, this is off, like it is now by default, that means if the controller loses power and comes back on, it starts the job over. I/O persist on disconnect just means that if somebody unplugs the DIO box, do we then assume all the inputs are off? Or do we assume all the inputs are still at the same state as they were at the time of the disconnect, right? We feel it's safer to assume all the inputs are off so that the tool doesn't run, like there's no job selected, until that error condition is resolved. Some customers, though, just want the line to keep going. So it is a customer specific. And then further down, you have your model number, your serial number, your versions. Again, you have the Find Me button, in case you want to use that. And then you have the ability to unpair. Later on in this demo, we're going to talk about when you unpair, what happens when you unpair in the context of replacing a tool, right? Because one of the most common things that happens is tool needs to go for calibration, so they bring a spare tool out, or tool goes out for repair and they have a spare tool put on, but they've got to replace the tool for some reason. How do they do that and still maintain all the settings? Okay. Right now, though, these tools do nothing, right? If I pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen because we have not configured any jobs or any settings whatsoever for them. So we need to go and do that. It's a two-step process. P-sets are recipes. They're not things that can be selected by themselves. They're just the basic torque settings that are common that we can use when we're talking about jobs. So jobs are the actual things that we can select, the things we run, but the jobs will run a series of P-sets. So a P-set, you can select which tool you want to do the P-set for. This does not assign the P-set to the tool in any way. All it does is provide a mechanism for you to know whether that P-set is valid for that tool or not. Okay. So if I choose the driver side and hit the plus sign to give it a new P-set.